Okay, so now one of the things you guys are going to need to know is how to figure out these powers of I going up pretty high, such as I to the 123rd power. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do that without a calculator and then with a calculator. So to do it without a calculator, here's the way we do it. I take my exponent right here of 13 and I divide that by 4. And I'm going to use long division by hand. So I go 4 into 13. Okay? 4 goes into 13 3 times, right? And now really what I want to focus on is what's my remainder. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 13 minus 12 is 1, and this is my key here. I'm going to say that I to the 13th is the same thing as I to the first power. And looking at my chart, what was I to the first power equal to? It was just equal to I. Right? Looking back up at your chart, right above you. So I'm going to do that for each of these. Let me give myself some space right here.
I think it's so you did 4 goes into 13 3 times, and then 4 times 3 equals 12.
Yep.
And then 13 minus 12 equals 4.
Yep, and that's your remainder, and that's what you use as your exponent to figure out which of those 4 values is your answer. Look using that chart above. Okay? Yeah. You want to see it again?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here's the deal, actually. I'm glad we're going to go back. My first step on these problems should be to list my 4 values of I. So I start like this. I to the first equals I squared equals I to the third equals and I to the fourth equals. Okay? So let's fill these in together. I to the first is going to be equal to I. Right? I squared is the same thing as the square root of -1 times the square root of -1. And that's equal to a -1. Okay? So I to the third power is going to be the same thing as I squared times I to the first power, right? We saw that I squared is equal to -1, and we see that I to the first power is just I, so I get a -1 times I, and that gives me a -I. So I to the third power is -I. All right? And now I need to do I to the fourth power. I to the fourth power is going to be the same thing as, I could look at it a couple different ways. I could look at it as, maybe the easiest way is I squared times I squared. And I know that I squared is equal to a -1, so I get a -1 times -1. And that's going to give me a +1. Okay, so again, my pattern here, I, -1, -I, +1. Okay. Now that I have those listed out over there, I can go ahead and go on to my next step. To figure out what I5 will repeat, starting at the beginning, and it will be just a positive I, because that's what I to the first is. What?
In the written formula, please, not the answer.
You mean how do we derive it? Okay. I to the fifth is going to be equal to I to the fourth times I to the first, right? And I to the fourth is going to be equal to a +1. And I to the first is just I. So 1 times I equals I.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Okay? And you see how it would start over repeating again? So I to the 6th will be -1, I to the 7th
Yes, I get it.
will be -I, and I to the 8th will be +1, and I to the 9th will be I, and it'll keep going like that. All right? Cool. So for all of these problems, erase this real quick. For all of these problems, my answer is always going to be one of these 4 answers. And I just need to figure out which one it is. Okay? So actually, let me show you guys 2 ways to do that. After we have this listed over here, here's one way I can do it. I just start with I to the 1st, and I count all the way up to 13, and I cycle through. So I to the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. And I end at I to the 1st, right? So I would say that that would be equal to I. Because I to the 1st is equal to I. Let me clear this up a little bit now. See how I just counted through? Okay. So I to the 23rd would be I to the 1st, I to the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23, and I ended right here. So it's the same. It's the same thing as I to the 3rd, and that is equal to -I. I can see right here, right? It's listed.
Yeah, but it says count through the first 4 formulas. Is that what they're called?
We can call these the first 4 values of the values of the first 4 powers of I.
First 4 values.
Uh-huh.
Basically.
Uh-huh.
So basically, just call it the first 4 values.
Okay.
So do you always start out at the very first I?
Excellent question. Yep, you start out at I to the 1st.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Did you end up on I to the 3rd?
Yes.
Good. So I to the 23rd is equal to a -I.
Well, 123.
Right?
There's 123 right at the very end.
Right. So you guys can see down here, that's going to be a lot of counting, right? So let me show you a shorter way to do it where you don't have to count.
Oh yeah, it's basically 1 times 4. It's basically 123 times 4.
Divided by 4.
Yeah,
Right.
they're just in your desk.
They're right there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'll walk right past them. Thanks.
I get back with this, okay?
Okay. What number do you have?
This one is
Oh, fine, fine.
5.
What is it? All right. So another way to do this is to just divide. So for example, let's take this 23 again. I would divide, do this down here in green. I do 23 divided by 4, or 4 into 23, right? How many times does that go? It goes 5 times, and now I need to figure out what's my remainder. So 5 times 4 is 20. 23 minus 20 is 3. Boom. Same thing as I to the 3rd. And I to the 3rd is -1. All right. So I could do the same thing down here for I to the 123rd. That would be 4 into 123. How many times is that going to go? It's going to go 30 times because that'll give me 120. So 30 times 4 is 120. Now I figure out what my remainder is, which is 3. It's going to be the same thing as I to the third, and that is equal to negative I. Oh, that's ugly.
I don't even think you recorded that.
Negative I. Yeah, it's recording.